Contents of the Vatican Secret Archives. The Vatican. Contents of the Vatican Secret Archives. The Vatican Secret Archives, now officially known as the Vatican Apostolic Archive, is one of the most significant repositories of historical documents in the world, housing a vast collection of information and artifacts. It serves as a central repository for all acts performed by the Holy See, the spiritual and administrative authority of the Catholic Church. It includes state papers, correspondence, account books, and other documents accumulated by the Church throughout its history. The origins of the Vatican Secret Archives can be traced back to the early days of Christianity when records were preserved in various locations. Initially, these documents were housed at the Lateran Palace, but by the 11th century, they had been transferred to multiple sites, including St. Peter's Basilica. The archives faced significant turmoil during various political upheavals, leading to the loss and destruction of many of these documents. Access to these archives has historically been highly restricted. For many centuries, only select members of the clergy could view its contents. The archives also reportedly contain extensive documentation regarding the Church's interactions with totalitarian regimes throughout history. One particularly notable example of this being Pope Pius XII's role during World War II and his interactions with Nazi Germany. As we've discussed on the channel previously in the World War II Iceberg, the Catholic Church had some pretty sketchy relationships with the Nazis. Critics have long scrutinized Pope Pius XII's actions during this time, with some claiming he turned a blind eye to the Holocaust, while others argue he worked behind the scenes to save lives. The existence of files detailing these interactions could illuminate dark chapters in church history where political expediency clashed with moral responsibility. There is also evidence suggesting that elements within the Catholic Church facilitated the creation of the post-World War II rat lines, or networks that helped Nazi officials and collaborators escape Europe after World War II. These rat lines enabled high-ranking Nazi figures such as Adolf Eichmann and Joseph Mengele to flee to countries like Argentina, Brazil, and Chile. There are certainly some sensitive documents relating to Pope Pius XII's administration over the Catholic Church during this time, though it is certainly possible that these have been relocated or even destroyed to protect the reputations and identities of others involved. The archives are also rumored to hold various heretical texts that were deemed dangerous or contrary to church doctrine. These writings include mystical and esoteric manuscripts that explore alchemy, astrology, and occult practices, subjects that have long been viewed with suspicion by the Church. The presence of this kind of literature being locked away in the secret archives reveals how the Church has grappled with alternative beliefs that threaten its authority. Some of the writings of Galileo, who faced condemnation for advocating heliocentrism, are preserved as reminders of the Church's historical conflicts with science and reason. Additionally, there are claims that the archives contain evidence supporting theories about otherworldly interactions with humans. These theories suggest that the Vatican is hiding knowledge about humanity's origins that could fundamentally alter our understanding of existence. This idea has recently gained traction, particularly following statements from individuals like David Grush, a former US Air Force officer and intelligence official who made headlines in 2023 with explosive claims regarding the Vatican's involvement in a cover-up related to extraterrestrial life. During a congressional hearing, Grush alleged that Pope Pius XII had facilitated the transfer of knowledge about a UFO recovered by the Italian government under Benito Mussolini in 1933. He asserted that this partially intact craft was held at a secure airbase until the end of World War II, when the Vatican, quote, back-channeled information to the United States, allowing them to retrieve it. His statements have sparked significant public interest and speculation about what might be hidden within the Vatican's archives, with some suggesting that they could contain documents or artifacts related to this encounter and other similar interactions. The chronovisor, a supposed invention and sort of mythical device attributed to Father Pellegrino Ernetti, is said to allow users to witness historical events as if watching television. According to claims popularized by Father Francois Brune and other proponents of the story, the chronovisor was developed in the 1950s and 1960s by a team of scientists led by Father Pellegrino Ernetti, an Italian Benedictine monk and physicist, along with a team of 12 scientists, including notable figures such as Enrico Fermi and Werner von Braun. Ernetti claimed that the device could capture images and sounds from the past, functioning like a, quote, time television that allowed users to witness historical events. The alleged involvement of Fermi, a Nobel Prize-winning physicist known for his work on nuclear reactors, and von Braun, a prominent rocket engineer who played a key role in the development of the US space program, has been a focal point of intrigue surrounding the chronovisor. According to these conspiracy theories, the device is allegedly held within the Vatican archives. The Grand Grimoire, often referred to as Le Dragon Rogue or the Red Dragon, is a notorious black magic grimoire or a dark book of magic spells, also rumored to be held within the Vatican secret archives. It is said to contain instructions for summoning demons and making pacts with them, particularly with Lucifer and Lucifuge Rofocal, the demon in charge of the administration of hell. While the origins of the text are debated, it is commonly believed to have been written sometime between the 16th and 18th centuries. Internal power struggles within the church have also left their mark on these archives. Documents related to internal disagreements, corruption allegations, and theological disputes reveal how dissenting voices within the church have been silenced or marginalized throughout history, a narrative often overlooked to maintain Catholicism's sanitized image. It's clear that the Vatican secret archives contain not only historical documents, but also darker records of humanity's struggles with faith, power, morality, and knowledge of reality. Should the information contained within these archives be released to the public, it's possible that our understanding of human history, Catholicism, and even the nature of reality would be changed forever. It can definitely be frustrating to know that there is information out there that could potentially change our day-to-day lives. With this in mind, how would you feel if I told you there was knowledge of a magical drink that could improve your energy, focus, and overall mental clarity, all the while decreasing stress? As you might have
How would you feel if I told you that having a Marilyn Monroe picture is kind of venerating a MK Ultra honeypot sex kitten? All right, let's continue. My apologies.
This drink is not forbidden knowledge at all, and I actually happen to have some in my possession. The drink is called Magic Mind, and they reached out to me some time ago and offered to send me some of their shots to try before sponsoring today's video, and I have to say, I really do actually notice significant improvements with this over just my regular cup of coffee every day. Ask anyone I know, I love coffee, and I'm drinking coffee every day, but the problem is, if I have too much, I can get very anxious and kind of jittery, and I know focus and overall mental clarity, all the while decreasing stress. As you might have already put together, this drink is not forbidden knowledge at all, and I actually happen to have some in my possession. The drink is called Magic Mind, and they reached out to me some time ago and offered to send me some of their shots to try before sponsoring today's video, and I have to say, I really do actually notice significant improvements with this over just my regular cup of coffee every day. Ask anyone I know, I love coffee, and I'm drinking coffee every day, but the problem is, if I have too much, I can get very anxious and kind of jittery, and I know that I'm not the only one who feels like that, but not enough, and I feel kind of sluggish, and I kind of get that brain fog. Magic Mind rethinks this whole idea with their mental performance shot containing a modest amount of caffeine, a mix of herbs, mushrooms, vitamins, and other safe and effective ingredients. Magic Mind teaches the idea of mental wealth, which is all about making good habits today in preparation for the natural ups and downs of life. In addition to their mental performance shots are their sleep performance shots, which help you to fall asleep faster, sleep more deeply, and overall just get a better night's rest. I encourage you all to think about the investments you've made into your mental wealth in 2024, and if you think these shots may have a place in your life moving forward into 2025. Magic Mind is currently offering our 24-hour pack, which combines the supply of both of these drinks together, which you will actually get 45% off if you use my code, which will be linked in the description and on screen. Thank you so much to Magic Mind for sponsoring today's video. Now, back to the Forbidden Knowledge Iceberg. The United States Black Budget. The black budget of the United States is a colloquial term used to describe the portion of the federal budget.
This is a series, right? The Forbidden Knowledge Iceberg series, and I think he just dropped part 7. I'm new to this channel and this content, but so it looks like he might be reviewing all of these, this whole iceberg here, or this might just be this. No, yeah, this is more than just this stream. It looks like he's going to be going over the top 2 tiers. Thelema and Aleister Crowley, Jacobo Grinberg, suppressed Nikola, Tesla, Inventions, John D, United States Black Budget, Anarchist Cookbook, contents of the Vatican secret archives, and Alchemy. And then the bottom 3 or 4 tiers, I'm guessing, are the future streams that he does. So if the content's good enough and I'm enthralled enough, then I'm going to continue the mirrors. And shout out to Fortune for letting me restream the content, and YouTube, you're on notice. So there you go.
The United States Black Budget. The black budget of the United States is a colloquial term used to describe the portion of the federal budget allocated to classified or secretive government operations, particularly within the realms of defense, intelligence, and national security. The black budget funds a range of secretive projects involving various agencies such as the CIA, FBI, and military intelligence divisions. While the exact details of these projects are often obscured by national security concerns, there are numerous theories, leaks, and investigations suggesting that the black budget supports a wide variety of covert programs, some of which are tied to controversial or mysterious research initiatives, or scrutinized by the public, and the projects they support remain hidden under the veil of secrecy. One of the most notorious programs associated with the black budget was the CIA's MK Ultra project, a mind control research initiative that operated from the 1950s through the 1970s collection. MK Ultra aimed to develop techniques for mind control, interrogation, and psychological manipulation, often involving unethical experiments on unwitting subjects. As most of you already know, this secretive program included research on drugs, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, and various forms of psychological conditioning. Another area where the black budget is known to fund secret research is in advanced weaponry and technology. The US government has long been involved in the development of cutting-edge military technologies, much of which has historically been kept under tight secrecy, and new developments of which certainly still are today. One example are the so-called black projects in aerospace technology, which includes classified efforts related to the development of advanced stealth aircraft, such as the SR-71 Blackbird, Lockheed F-117 Nighthawk, and Northrop Technology, hypersonic flight, and experimental propulsion systems. Much of this technology remains a secret, obviously to maintain a strategic advantage over our enemies, though whistleblowers and leaks over the years have fueled speculation about the scale and scope of these black budget funded projects. Many believe that the US, given its astronomical, far superior to what they have revealed to the public. Another area of black budget spending is in the secretive development of surveillance and intelligence gathering techniques. The black budget funds various forms of electronic surveillance, including signals intelligence, satellite imagery, and data mining programs. Some of these projects are known to involve the collection of communications data from both foreign and domestic sources, raising concerns of privacy and civil liberties. These surveillance programs often extend beyond traditional intelligence gathering, delving into the realm of predictive analytics and AI-based systems designed to track and monitor individuals on a vast scale. Notably, the Edward Snowden revelations in 2013 exposed the breadth of these surveillance activities, revealing the extent to which the NSA, CIA, and other agencies were using taxpayer funds for global monitoring operations, often without full public knowledge. Key programs included PRISM, which allowed direct access to data from major tech companies like Google, Facebook, and Microsoft, as well as XKeyscore, a tool enabling analysts to search vast databases of emails, online chats, and browsing histories without prior authorization. Snowden also exposed the bulk collection of domestic phone metadata under Section 215 of the USA Patriot Act, where the NSA collected call records of millions of Americans, including phone numbers, call durations, and timestamps, raising concerns about warrantless surveillance. Due to all of these activities being kept secret from the American public, the people were unable to protest the programs or the use of their own tax money on the very operations which were used to invade their privacy. The black budget is also certain to support projects related to the development and deployment of new types of cyber weapons and defensive technologies. These programs often work in parallel with the development of offensive cyber capabilities designed to disrupt or disable foreign nations' infrastructure. With the increasing reliance on technology, cyber warfare has become an essential tool for militaries worldwide. While some efforts to combat cyber threats are publicly acknowledged, others must remain hidden under the black budget's veil of secrecy. Again, these programs are designed to ensure the United States maintains a strategic advantage in a world where cyber attacks can cause widespread damage to economies, governments, and societies at large. Another target of secret funding likely lies in operations aimed at regime change, influence, and intervention in foreign governments. This includes funding for covert operations by intelligence agencies such as the CIA, which have been linked to interventions in the leadership, whether it's orchestrating coups, supporting insurgencies, or running covert information campaigns. These operations are often classified to prevent diplomatic fallout and to maintain plausible deniability. The Department of Defense, along with various intelligence agencies, may also invest in the development of techniques that can influence public opinion or destabilize enemy states. These psychological warfare operations may involve the use of media manipulation, misinformation, and targeted psychological campaigns. Although many of these operations are never publicly acknowledged, the scope of influence they have on international affairs is likely much farther spanning and much more significant than we realize. In some cases, it is believed that these programs may use advanced social media tools to manipulate narratives, especially in politically sensitive or unstable regions of the world. There is also speculation surrounding the black budget's role in funding highly classified medical research. The US government, in conjunction with defense contractors, has historically engaged in research that crosses the boundaries between health, biotechnology, and weaponization. Some suggest that funds from the black budget may support research into biological agents, as well as vaccines and antidotes designed for military use in biological warfare scenarios. Given the ethical implications of such research and the potential collateral damage which could be inflicted on test subjects, much of this remains closely guarded. In fact, we've covered some of these cases recently in another video where we discussed several different horrifying experiments conducted throughout modern history. Looking back, at least 3 of the cases we covered in that video were funded under US black budget spending and remained highly classified due to their testing of innocent civilians, until they were either declassified or leaked to the public. Furthermore, there are persistent rumors about government-backed efforts to extend human life or enhance physical capabilities through experimental biotechnology, which may also be funded under this secretive budget. As secretive projects from throughout the United States history continue to be declassified, we continue to learn about new black budget projects from the past that explore extreme and even bizarre concepts such as remote viewing, psychic warfare, and even interdimensional research. These projects, often linked to fringe science, are believed by some to be part of a wider effort to develop unconventional military advantages. For example, the Stargate project involved research into psychic phenomena for military intelligence purposes, with a focus on remote viewing, a method of attempting to gather intelligence by perceiving distant or hidden locations with only the mind. Though declassified in the 1990s, the continuation of similar projects today remains highly plausible. Many secretive operations obviously still remain unknown to the public. Although much of this is for good reason, again, mostly to retain a strategic advantage over our enemies, we have seen in the past how unchecked power and a lack of public accountability can lead to an overextension of authority. While whistleblowers, leaks, and investigative journalism have revealed pieces of the puzzle over the years, it is impossible to know the full extent of what the black budget finances. These projects present an uncomfortable reality where taxpayer money is being used to fund secret operations which lie outside the scope of public accountability. Alchemy. Alchemy is an ancient practice that blends science, mysticism, and philosophy, often seen as both an early precursor to modern chemistry and a deeply esoteric spiritual tradition. At its roots, alchemy is the pursuit of transformation, both physical and spiritual. Alchemists believed that they could manipulate matter to achieve extraordinary results, such as turning base metals like lead into gold or creating substances with incredible powers. These transformations were not only material, but symbolic, representing the purification and elevation of the soul. Also central to alchemy is the concept of the Philosopher's Stone, a legendary substance believed to grant the ability to transmute metals into gold and to bestow eternal life. This idea of unlocking hidden, forbidden power lies at the heart of alchemy's appeal and its darker reputation. In the Greco-Roman world, thinkers such as Plato and Aristotle would end up contributing significantly to what would develop into Western alchemy. They believed all matter was composed of 4 fundamental elements: earth, air, fire, and water. Such ideas gained further complexity in Hellenistic Alexandria, where mysticism and science intertwined, giving rise to Hermeticism. This school of thought emphasized the unity of all existence, positing that the physical and spiritual realms are interconnected and are reflections of one another. This idea is captured in the Hermetic maxim, as above, so below, as within, so without. This is basically saying that the operations of the cosmos and spiritual mirror those of the earthly and physical realms. Alchemy, in this context, is not just a physical science dealing with substances like metals and chemicals, but also a spiritual practice aimed at understanding and transforming the soul. In Hermeticism, alchemy is a sacred art where manipulating the physical elements, such as transmuting lead into gold, is a metaphor for achieving spiritual enlightenment and perfection. Practitioners believed that understanding the material world through alchemy allowed them to glimpse the divine order, bridging the gap between the human and the celestial. Hermetic texts such as the Corpus Hermeticum explore these themes in depth and provided alchemists with a philosophical framework that linked their practical experiments to a broader spiritual pursuit. To the followers of Hermeticism, alchemical knowledge was esoteric, meaning it was meant only for the initiated few who were deemed worthy or capable of grasping these profound truths. This exclusivity and the use of symbols, allegories, and encoded language gave alchemical practices an aura of secrecy and mystery, earning the practice its spot on this iceberg. The, quote, great work, also known as the magnum opus, was a process alchemists believed mirrored the stages of spiritual transformation: dissolution, purification, and rebirth. Their tools, vials, furnaces, and flasks were as much symbols of inner transformation as they were practical pieces of equipment. Alchemists believed that the universe itself was a vast laboratory where divine truths could be uncovered through diligent study and experimentation. The process of the magnum opus unfolds in 4 symbolic stages. It begins with the black stage, where the base material, or prima materia, often consisting of either lead, mercury, sulfur, salt, or even organic materials like dew or soil, is reduced to ash through intense heat, symbolizing the destruction of impurities. Next comes the white stage, a phase of cleansing where the substance is dissolved and reborn in a purified state, reflecting spiritual illumination. This will then lead to the yellow stage, where fermentation introduces a living spirit into the material, symbolizing enlightenment and transformation. Finally, in the red stage, the substance is perfected and solidified into, hopefully, the Philosopher's Stone. To confirm its authenticity, alchemists would perform transmutation experiments, sprinkling or mixing a portion of the stone with molten lead or another base metal. If the lead turned into pure gold or silver, they believed the stone was genuine. There are historical accounts of alchemists claiming to have successfully transmuted base metals into gold using the Philosopher's Stone, but none of these claims have been scientifically verified. These stories are often shrouded in mystery, secrecy, and allegory, making it difficult to discern whether they were meant to be taken literally or symbolically. One famous account comes from the 15th century alchemist George Ripley, who claimed that he produced significant quantities of gold using alchemical methods and even donated some of his gold to the Knights of St. John of Jerusalem. Similarly, Nicolas Flamel, a 14th century French scribe and bookseller, is perhaps the most legendary figure associated with the Philosopher's Stone. Flamel reportedly deciphered an ancient alchemical text known as the Book of Abraham the Jew and successfully created the stone. Afterward, he and his wife were rumored to have amassed great wealth, leading to speculation that they actually achieved transmutation. The secrecy surrounding alchemy also made it deeply controversial. Alchemical texts were often written in cryptic language, filled with allegories, symbols, and mysterious diagrams. This was partly to protect the knowledge from misuse, and partly to ensure that only those with the necessary wisdom could decode it. For the uninitiated, these texts would mostly appear nonsensical. One text that exemplifies the mysterious and dark aspects of alchemy is the Picatrix, a medieval grimoire that combines astrological, magical, and alchemical knowledge. Originally written in Arabic as the Gayat al-Hakim, it was translated into Latin in the 12th century and became one of the most influential works of its kind. The Picatrix is not a straightforward alchemical manual, but is instead more of a compendium of esoteric knowledge, describing rituals, magic, and the creation of substances believed to harness cosmic power. It instructs practitioners on aligning their work with specific planetary influences, believing that celestial energies could enhance the success of alchemical transformations. Yet, it also warns of the dangers inherent in tampering with such forces, as misuse could lead to either ruin or madness. Alchemy often required bizarre and grotesque materials, including blood, urine, and even parts of corpses, which were thought to contain vital essences needed for transformation. The alchemical furnace, where substances were heated and refined, became a symbol of death and rebirth, where primal chaos could be transformed into divine order. The imagery of dismemberment and recomposition found in many alchemical works underscores the disturbing nature of these practices. Alchemists believed that to create something perfect, they first had to destroy its imperfections, a process that mirrored the death and rebirth of the human soul. Many alchemists viewed their work as analogous to the cycle of life and death, seeing decay as a necessary precursor to regeneration. This idea extended to their experiments, where substances were killed through decomposition and then reborn in purified form. Some alchemists took these metaphors to literal extremes, conducting experiments with human remains with the belief that they could distill the essence of life itself. Alchemy also inspired a darker ambition, the quest for immortality. The so-called elixir of life, a substance believed to grant eternal youth and vitality, was a central goal for many alchemists. The pursuit of this elixir often involved the use of hazardous materials such as mercury, a liquid metal when at room temperature, which was thought to contain transformative properties, but was highly toxic. The alchemist's desire to conquer death itself was seen by many as an act of rebellion against the natural order. The legacy of alchemy is twofold. On one hand, it did in fact lay down the foundations for modern chemistry and inspired scientific exploration. On the other, it remains a symbol of humanity's desire to unlock the secrets of creation and uncover objective truth, no matter the consequences. The Anarchist Cookbook. The Anarchist Cookbook is a book written by William Powell that was first published in 1971 during a time of significant social and political upheaval in the United States. The book emerged from Powell's anger over the Vietnam War and his experiences living in New York City amidst the counterculture movements of the late 1960s. At just 19 years old, Powell was deeply influenced by the anti-war sentiment and the radicalization of some segments of society, which motivated him to compile a manual that he believed would educate and empower the silent majority against what he perceived as oppressive systems. The concept for the Anarchist Cookbook began when Powell envisioned creating a series of instructional flyers that would circulate in Manhattan, detailing methods for civil disobedience and rebellion. His initial focus was on crafting recipes for various forms of resistance, including how to throw a Molotov cocktail and how to produce LSD. Over a period of 2 years, from 1968 to 1970, Powell conducted extensive research at the New York Public Library, drawing from military manuals, anarchist literature, and countercultural publications. The culmination of this effort was a manuscript that he submitted to multiple publishers, eventually finding a home with Lyle Stewart, an independent publisher who chose to work with Powell despite reservations from his staff regarding the manuscript's content. Upon its release, the Anarchist Cookbook generated immediate controversy. It contained detailed instructions for making explosives, firearms, and illicit drugs, which alarmed many critics who viewed it as a dangerous guide for potential violence. The book was quickly labeled as a reckless publication, leading to scrutiny from law enforcement agencies such as the FBI. Despite the backlash, it remained in print and continued to sell well over the years. The book's notoriety only grew as it was found in the possession of several individuals involved in violent incidents, including mass shootings. Some notorious individuals who either possessed copies of the book or referenced its materials are as follows. James Holmes, responsible for the 2012 Aurora Theater shooting in Chicago, where he killed 12 people and injured 70 others during a midnight showing of The Dark Knight Rises. He opened fire on the audience after setting off gas canisters, leading to one of the deadliest mass shootings in U.S. history. In 1976, members of a Croatian radical group hijacked a TWA flight and were linked to the bombing of Grand Central Terminal. The hijackers cited the Anarchist Cookbook as a resource for their actions. Carl Pearson, a student who opened fire at Arapahoe High School in Colorado in December 2013, shot a girl who was left in a coma before turning the gun on himself. He owned a copy of the Anarchist Cookbook and was reportedly influenced. Thomas Spinks, who in the 1980s was involved in a series of bombings targeting abortion clinics across the United States. He referred to the Anarchist Cookbook for guidance on executing these attacks, which resulted in several injuries, but luckily no fatalities. Finally, the Columbine high school shooters Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold also reportedly were aware of the book and its contents, with Harris referencing the Anarchist Cookbook during the planning stages of their assault. It didn't take long for Powell's views on his creation to shift dramatically. After writing the book, he converted to Anglican Christianity in 1976 and embarked on a career in education. He spent years teaching in international schools across Africa and Asia, focusing on conflict resolution rather than revolutionary tactics. This new path led him to reflect critically on his earlier beliefs and the implications of the Anarchist Cookbook. By the late 1970s and into the 1980s, Powell became increasingly uncomfortable with the violent ideologies he had once championed. In interviews and writings later in life, Powell expressed regret over his past advocacy for violence as a means of political change. He publicly renounced the book's message in a 2013 article where he stated that he had come to understand that using violence to combat violence was fundamentally flawed. He recognized that his youthful anger had blinded him to the irrationality of his original premise. Despite his attempts to have the Anarchist Cookbook removed from circulation, Powell's efforts were complicated by the fact that he no longer held the copyright to the text. which had been transferred to the publisher, and the book remained available for purchase. The book's legal status became a point of contention as well. After its initial publication by Aleister Incorporated, which maintained its rights until its acquisition by another publisher in 1991, the Anarchist Cookbook continued to be printed despite calls for its ban from various quarters. In some countries, like Australia, it faced outright bans due to its content promoting violence. In others, like the United Kingdom and the United States, its possession became associated with criminal activities, but has remained legally available. The book has been referenced in discussions about freedom of speech versus public safety and has sparked debates about whether controversial literature should be censored or banned altogether. William Powell passed away in 2016, leaving behind a complicated legacy intertwined with his controversial work. The Anarchist Cookbook continues to circulate to this day and serves as a reminder of the dangers that lie at the intersection of passionate ideological beliefs and promoting violence. Suppressed Nikola Tesla inventions. Nikola Tesla, a name synonymous with innovation and visionary thinking, is often regarded as one of the most influential inventors in history. His contributions to electrical engineering have left a permanent mark on humanity. However, alongside these celebrated achievements lie theories of suppressed inventions and groundbreaking technologies that many believe were intentionally hidden from the public eye. One particularly relevant project was Nikola Tesla's Wardenclyffe Tower, constructed in the early 20th century. It was an ambitious project aimed at revolutionizing global communication and power distribution. Located in Shoreham, New York, the tower was designed to facilitate wireless transmission of both information and electricity, utilizing the Earth's natural conductivity to disseminate energy across vast distances without the need for traditional power lines. Tesla envisioned a world where information and power could be accessed freely and ubiquitously, a concept that was both groundbreaking and controversial for its time. The primary purpose of the Wardenclyffe Tower was to serve as a prototype for a global wireless communication system. Tesla intended the tower to transmit messages, telephone signals, and even images across the Atlantic to England and to ships at sea, effectively making it a precursor to modern wireless communication technologies. Beyond communication, Tesla's broader vision encompassed the wireless transmission of electrical power, enabling devices to operate without being tethered to power sources, thereby eliminating the need for an extensive and costly infrastructure of wires and cables. Tesla believed energy could be transmitted without wires, harnessing the Earth's natural energy to provide power globally. He famously stated, quote, "When wireless is fully applied, the Earth will be converted into a in every one of its experiments at Wardenclyffe rooted in his earlier successes with wireless technology. As early as 1891, he demonstrated the transmission of electricity without wires at various exhibitions, including the World Columbian Exposition in Chicago. His invention of the Tesla coil allowed him to create high-voltage discharges that could illuminate bulbs wirelessly. By 1899, while working in Colorado Springs, he conducted experiments that convinced him it was possible to transmit electrical power through the Earth's upper atmosphere. He believed that the Earth's ionosphere could act as a conductor for transmitting energy over long distances. Tesla's approach relied on the resonance of the Earth's electrical charge. He theorized that by transmitting electrical energy at specific frequencies, it would be possible to induce a resonant condition, allowing energy to be transmitted efficiently over long distances. This method, if successful, could have paved the way for a decentralized and universally accessible energy distribution system, potentially providing free energy to all corners of the globe. As early as February of 1901, in a newspaper article titled Talking with Planets from Collier's Weekly, Tesla discussed his system of wireless electricity and telegraphy as, quote, "using the Earth itself as the medium for conducting the currents, thus dispensing with wires and all other artificial conductors. A machine which, to explain its operation in plain language, resembled a pump in its action, drawing electricity from the Earth and driving it back into the same at an enormous rate, thus creating ripples or disturbances which, spreading through the Earth as through a wire, could be detected at great distances by carefully attuned receiving circuits. In this manner, I was able to transmit to a distance not only feeble effects for the purposes of signaling, but considerable amounts of energy, and later discoveries I made convinced me that I shall ultimately succeed in conveying power without wires for industrial purposes with high economy and to any distance, however great." Despite the innovative potential of the Wardenclyffe project, it faced significant challenges. Financial backing was a persistent issue. Tesla initially secured funding from financier J.P. Morgan, who was interested in the commercial prospects of wireless communication, particularly in its ability to transmit telegraph messages across the Atlantic. However, when Tesla's ambitions expanded to include the transmission of electrical power, Morgan grew skeptical, especially considering the potential implications for the existing energy industry, which was heavily invested in wired infrastructure and metered electricity. The financial difficulties were compounded by technical challenges and the competitive landscape of the time. Guglielmo Marconi, a contemporary inventor, had already made significant strides in wireless telegraphy, successfully transmitting signals across the Atlantic. Marconi's achievements, coupled with his backing by powerful industrialists, overshadowed Tesla's endeavors, leading to a decline in support for the Wardenclyffe project. In the end, the tower never even ended up being fully operational, and by 1917, it was dismantled, with its materials sold to pay off Tesla's debts. The demise of the Wardenclyffe Tower has fueled numerous theories suggesting that Tesla's inventions were deliberately suppressed, with proponents arguing that the widespread adoption of Tesla's wireless energy technology would have rendered existing energy industries obsolete, posing a direct threat to the financial interests of powerful stakeholders in the energy sector. It is theorized that influential industrialists and financiers who had substantial investments in the flourishing electrical grid and related technologies may have actively worked to undermine Tesla's work to protect their economic interests. Tesla's vision of providing wireless electricity to the masses implied a system where energy could theoretically be accessed without cost to the consumer. This idea was obviously revolutionary, but also economically disruptive, as it challenged the profit models of utility companies that relied on metered consumption. Critics of this suppression narrative, however, will point out that Tesla's ideas, while visionary, faced significant scientific and engineering hurdles that may have been insurmountable with the technology available at the time. It's crucial to remember that the ideas we're discussing are coming from an inventor working alone in the 1910s. Had his theories been correct and the technology continuously funded and developed as innovations in electrical engineering progressed through time, imagine where it could have led us today in the 21st century. The notion of suppressed or even confiscated technologies surrounding Tesla also extended into potentially horrific weapons capable of immense destruction. In the 1930s, Tesla introduced the concept of teleforce, a particle beam weapon dubbed the death ray. Tesla asserted that this device could emit concentrated beams of particles capable of obliterating targets up to hundreds of miles away. He envisioned it as a defensive instrument, potent enough to neutralize invading forces and thereby render warfare obsolete. Tesla described the mechanism as generating a high-velocity stream of microscopic particles accelerated through a series of electrostatic forces to nearly 270,000 miles per hour. The beam, which was as thin as a hair, would carry immense energy sufficient to dismantle aircraft or other military equipment from considerable distances away. Tesla's ambition was to create a protective shield, enabling nations to safeguard their borders without engaging in offensive conflicts. Another one of these inventions was the mechanical oscillator, often referred to as the, quote, earthquake machine. This was an electromechanical device designed to generate oscillations at specific frequencies. Patented in 1893, the oscillator was initially conceived as a means to produce alternating current electricity more efficiently. The device operated by using steam to drive a piston up and down, creating mechanical vibrations that could be harnessed for various applications. Tesla discovered that when the oscillator's frequency matched the resonant frequency of a structure or object, it could induce powerful vibrations. In 1898, while experimenting with the oscillator in his New York City lab, Tesla reportedly caused the building and surrounding area to shake violently. Realizing the potential danger, he is said to have destroyed the device with a sledgehammer to halt the escalating vibrations. Tesla claimed that with proper tuning, the oscillator could produce effects akin to an earthquake. The confiscation of Tesla's revolutionary technologies may have been lost or hidden from public knowledge, or perhaps even developed further in secret. Declassified documents indicate that there may have been intense rivalries over Tesla's research between various factions within the government and private sector entities seeking to control emerging technologies. The mystery surrounding these missing blueprints has led researchers and enthusiasts alike to speculate about what groundbreaking inventions might have been concealed. Nikola Tesla envisioned a future where energy would be abundant and accessible to all, a stark contrast to the monopolistic practices in energy distribution during his time. While many of his inventions laid the groundwork for modern electrical engineering and wireless communication technology, It is interesting to speculate where we might be today had his ideas been fully recognized during his time. Thelema and Aleister Crowley. In the world of the occult, few names evoke as much fascination and controversy as that of Aleister Crowley. Born in 1875, Crowley would go on to become one of the most influential figures in Western esotericism, earning himself the notorious title of the wickedest man in the world. At the heart of Crowley's legacy lies Thelema, a religious and philosophical system of his creation that continues to captivate and disturb in equal measure. Crowley claimed to have received the Book of the Law, or Liber Allegis, in a series of mystical experiences that took place in Cairo. Ritual invocation to the Egyptian god Horus. Crowley, initially skeptical of her sudden spiritual inclinations, tested her knowledge of Egyptian deities and mythology. She reportedly identified Horus with remarkable accuracy, describing details that she seemingly could not have known, as she had no prior interest in such subjects. Rose's insistence culminated in Crowley conducting a ceremonial invocation, which he claimed opened the gateway to a profound spiritual encounter. On April 8th, 9th, and 10th, Crowley secluded himself in a room at 8 o'clock a.m. each day and transcribed what he explains as a direct dictation from a non-corporeal entity named Iwas, who identified himself as the Minister of Hor-Par Krat, meaning Horus the Child. Crowley claimed that Iwas appeared as a voice emanating from behind him, though he did not turn around to look. The entity reportedly dictated the text with a sense of urgency and authority, instructing Crowley to write word for word without alteration or interpretation. This text would become the Book of the Law, a cryptic and poetic work consisting of 3 chapters, each purportedly dictated over the course of 1 hour. Crowley believed that the text was not his own creation, but instead was a direct transmission of divine or superhuman intelligence, intended to announce the dawn of a new spiritual era, which he dubs the Aeon of Horus. According to the Book of the Law, humanity was entering a new aeon characterized by the principles of Thelema, a spiritual philosophy centered around the maxim, "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law." This phrase emphasizes the pursuit of one's true will and alignment with the deepest, most authentic purpose of one's existence. The text presents a radical shift away from the restrictive moral codes of previous aeons, promoting individualism, personal freedom, and self-realization as the highest spiritual values. Thelemites believe that each individual possesses a true will, a cosmic purpose that transcends superficial desires or societal expectations. The goal of a Thelemite is to discover and align with this true will, a process that often involves wisdom of Thelema is a syncretic blend of various religions and occult traditions. It draws heavily from Western esotericism, incorporating elements of Hermeticism and ceremonial magic, along with concepts from Eastern mysticism, particularly yoga and tantra, which he encountered during his extensive travels. This approach resulted in a unique spiritual system that defies easy categorization. Initiation involved a system of graded levels to guide initiates through stages of spiritual and magical development. They would begin with basic teachings and rituals that focus on self-purification and understanding Crowley's core text, the Book of the Law. As they progress through the grades, individuals engage in more advanced practices like ritual magic, meditation, and symbolism designed to help them uncover their true will or their unique purpose in life. In higher levels, initiates may also practice techniques like sex magic, which channels sexual energy for spiritual growth, and engage in astral projection or other mystical experiences. However, one of the most controversial aspects of Thelema is its approach to sexuality and morality. Crowley, who was openly bisexual at a time when homosexuality was illegal in Britain, incorporated sexual magic into his spiritual practices. He believed that sexual energy could be harnessed for magical purposes, a concept that scandalized Victorian society and continues to shock many today. Crowley's writing on sex magic are explicit and often disturbing, detailing rituals that involve the consumption of bodily fluids and the manipulation of sexual energy for spiritual aims. The Abbey of Thelema, a small house which was used as a temple and spiritual center, was established by Crowley in Cefalù, Sicily in 1920. It quickly became a notorious symbol of Thelemic excess. This commune was envisioned as a utopian community where Thelemites could practice their religion freely. However, the reality was far from idyllic. Reports of drug use, orgies and bizarre rituals emerged from the abbey, fueling Crowley's reputation as a dangerous individual. The walls of the abbey were adorned with explicit murals depicting sexual acts and occult symbolism, creating an environment that was both alluring and unsettling to visitors. One of the most disturbing incidents associated with the abbey involved the death of Raoul Loveday, a young follower of Crowley. Loveday allegedly died after participating in a ritual that involved drinking the blood of a sacrificed cat. One of the most infamous Thelemic rituals is the Gnostic Mass, a ceremony that simulates sexual union between priest and priestess as a means of spiritual communion. The ritual involves the consumption of a cake of light, which traditionally contains, again, the bodily fluids of the participants. These behaviors soon caught the attention of local authorities, the Catholic Church, and other moralists who saw Crowley and his commune as a serious threat to the social order. The tensions came to a head in 1923 when Crowley's commune attracted the interest of the Italian authorities, particularly of the fascist government of Benito Mussolini. At the time, Mussolini's regime was growing more powerful, and the government was keen to assert control over all aspects of Italian life, including religion, culture, and social norms. Crowley, with his unconventional lifestyle and reputation as a wicked man, became a convenient target for authorities looking to eliminate what they saw as subversive influences. These factors in conjunction contributed to the closure of the abbey and Crowley's expulsion from Italy. Crowley developed a system of ceremonial magic that he called magic, spelled with a K, to distinguish it from stage illusions. These rituals often involved elaborate ceremonies, the use of magical tools, and the invocation of various entities. Some of these practices were designed to push practitioners to their psychological and physical limits, blurring the lines between spiritual experience and madness. The intense nature of some Thelemic rituals and the emphasis on pushing beyond normal boundaries of consciousness can be psychologically destabilizing for some practitioners. There have been cases of individuals experiencing mental health crises after engaging in advanced Thelemic practices without proper preparation or guidance. Jacobo Grinberg. Jacobo Grinberg Zilberbaum was born in Mexico City on December 12, 1946. His fascination with the human mind began at the age of 12, following the death of his mother from a brain tumor. This personal tragedy inspired him to delve into the complexities of the brain. He pursued psychology at the National Autonomous University of Mexico, or UNAM, where he distinguished himself as a dedicated student. In 1970, Grinberg furthered his studies in psychophysiology at the Brain Research Institute in New York City, earning a PhD under the mentorship of Dr. E. Roy John. His doctoral research focused on the electrophysiological effects of geometric stimuli on the human brain. Upon returning to Mexico, Grinberg established a psychophysiology laboratory at Anáhuac University and later at UNAM in the late 1970s. In 1987, he founded the National Institute for the Study of Consciousness, or INPEC, supported by UNAM and Mexico's National Council of Science and Technology. He published numerous works contributing significantly to the study of brain activity, shamanism, telepathy, and meditation. Over his career, Grinberg authored more than 50 books reflecting his commitment to understanding the intersection of science and mysticism. Grinberg's research was characterized by a bold integration of scientific methodology with a study of shamanistic practices, the spiritual discipline involving a practitioner interacting with the spirit world through altered states of consciousness in order to heal, gain insight, or achieve some other goal. He sought to demystify the magical world by applying rigorous scientific analysis to phenomena traditionally considered supernatural. This approach was controversial as it challenged conventional scientific perspectives and risked his professional reputation. Central to Grinberg's theoretical contributions was the development of the synergy theory. This theory posits the existence of a continuous energy space of which humans perceive only a fraction. According to this model, individual perception constructs reality from this vast energy field, offering an explanation for the creation of personal experience. His book, El Cerebro Consciente, or The Conscious Brain, where he elaborates on this theory, was translated into 7 different languages, indicating the international interest in his work, where he attempts to answer how, and potentially even why, this experience has been created. In addition to his theoretical work, Grinberg conducted empirical studies on telepathy. He designed experiments to test the possibility of direct brain-to-brain communication, aiming to provide scientific evidence for phenomena often relegated to the realm of pseudoscience. His willingness to explore these fringe areas of study demonstrated his commitment to expanding the boundaries of conventional neuroscience. Grinberg's interest in shamanism led him to study indigenous healers, particularly the renowned Mexican shaman known as Pachita. He documents his observations and experiences in his book Pachita, providing a detailed account of her healing practices and the altered states of consciousness associated with them. However, his life and research came to a dramatic halt on December 8th, 1994, when Jacobo Grinberg disappeared under mysterious circumstances just days before his 48th birthday, for which his family had planned a celebration to be held on the 12th. But he never appeared. Initially, his absence did not raise alarm, as he was known for spontaneous travels and periods of non-communication. However, as time passed without any contact, concern grew. Investigators quickly found that there were no records of him departing Mexico or boarding any flights during this time. Furthermore, no physical evidence or clues were left behind to indicate what had happened to him. Witnesses reported that Grinberg had shown signs of distress in the weeks leading up to his disappearance. Friends and family had noted a shift in his behavior. He had begun sleeping in a modified van, apparently fearing for his safety in his home. This paranoia was reportedly linked to personal tensions with his wife, Teresa Mendoza, who suspiciously also disappeared on the same day. Some speculate that their relationship had deteriorated to a breaking point, leading to potential conflicts that could have contributed to their vanishing. A separate prominent theory suggests that Grinberg's groundbreaking research on consciousness and telepathy attracted the attention of international government agencies, such as the CIA. Interestingly, in 2023, declassified CIA documents revealed that they had actually been closely monitoring his work for some time. We've discussed the CIA's deep interest in altered states of consciousness in the past, and whether it's a coincidence or not, his work did seem to line up pretty closely to the areas they were interested in. Whether any of this is relevant or not, no evidence has surfaced regarding his fate or where he may have ended up. Once more, thank you so much to Magic Mind for sponsoring today's video. Be sure to follow my link to get 45% off the Magic Mind bundle.
Damn, well, that's that. Shout out to the chat. Yeah, so what do you think of that? Ayahuasca. Am I crazy? There's something there? You know, the green lady? It's got me thinking now. I might have to look that one up. See if I'm not just grasping at straws. So I could go to part 2, but I was going to keep it short and sweet. It is already late. Let me see what's saying here. Hold on. All right, well, it looks like y'all are voting for digital ID Hill to die on. So I guess we'll do that tomorrow. Yeah. Any questions? Any questions from the peanut gallery? Now that we got the loop going here, should I make it a real loop and just loop? Any questions? Any questions from the peanut gallery? Real loop here. You know, now that we got the loop going here, should I make it a real loop? Y'all remember? Loop. Any questions? Any digital gallery? Real loop here. You know. Should I make it a loop? Y'all remember? Loop. Any questions? Any digital real loop here? You know. Should I make it a loop? Y'all remember? Loop. Any questions? Should I make it a loop? Y'all remember? Loop. Any questions? All right, I'm out of here. I love y'all. I'll do anything to your place, y'all. Shout out to Chris Mom. I'm the only one unemployed in a day job and kicking boxes. I kick ass and then take knowledge. I'm way more polished than 99% of the rappers. You thought I graduated. I'm the master that masturbated on your favorite MC until your industry had one of me assassinated.